Hello everybody! So in this video, I'll be talking a little bit about adding and subtracting integers, so positive and negative numbers, and specifically what that looks like using counters to model. Before we start, let's talk about what is a zero pair. A zero pair is a pair of numbers that equal 0. We've been seeing this as a positive counter and a negative counter. We call this a zero pair because if we had a positive 1 and a negative 1, if we added those two numbers together, it equals 0. So a positive counter and a negative counter is a zero pair because they have no value. You can see that these are opposite numbers, a positive 1 and a negative 1. We can have something more than just one counter. We could have 3 positive counters and 3 negative counters. We can make 3 zero pairs, 2, 3, which each would have 0 value. If we wrote this using numbers, this is the same as a positive 3 and a negative 3, which we know are opposites. When we add these together, they equal 0. They have no value. So a positive counter and a negative counter kind of cancel each other out. You can think about it like charges in science. One positive, one negative will cancel each other out. What happens if we have multiple positives, multiple negatives? Well, let's say maybe maybe 2 positives and a negative. Well, if we had a positive 2 and then a negative 1, when we add those together, we should have a positive 1 left over. We can see that this is true because we're going to make as many zero pairs as we can. Here's a zero pair, so this has no value. They cancel each other out, and we are left with this positive 1. So when we are adding and subtracting integers using counters, we make zero pairs and we get rid of those zero pairs so that we can see what's remaining. Or sometimes we bring zero pairs in because we know that it's worth nothing. That's the cool thing about a zero pair. You can add as many zero pairs as you want, or you can take away as many zero pairs as you like because the value is 0. All right, so we are going to do some practice problems. You can find these problems in the plus minus counters assignment that you have in Schoology. Our very first problem is 3 plus 5. Now, I know that you guys know that 3 plus 5 equals 8, but part of your expectation is being able to model this using counters. Before we start modeling, I am going to provide my key that my yellow counters are positive and my negative counters are red. So when you see this this plus sign, I want you to think and. Okay, so we have a 3 and we have a 5. Well, what does that look like? We have a positive 3 and we have a positive 5. 3, 4, 5. We can't make any zero pairs, so what we're left with when we have a 3 and 5 is 8 altogether. All right, our second problem, we see a negative. We have negative 3, oops. Oh, no, we don't. We have a negative 6 and a positive 3. So negative 6, my apologies, negative 6 and 3. Okay, so 1, 2, using these negative counters, negative 6, and a positive 3. What is negative 6 and a positive 3, negative 6 plus 3? Well, I'm going to make as many zero pairs as I can. This equals 0 together. These cancel each other out, so I'm going to get rid of that. This is a zero pair, and this is a zero pair, so I'm going to get rid of these. And what I'm left with is my answer. I'm left with a negative 3. problem is -2 plus 9. Okay, -2 and a +9. Okay, -2 and a +9. I'm going to make as many 0 pairs as I can. Here's a 0 pair. Here's a 0 pair. These guys equal 0, so I am left with a +7. Okay, so 5 plus -1, or 5 and a -1. Remember, don't be afraid of these parentheses. Those parentheses are just hugging my number, my negative number, to let you know that that negative sign goes with that 1. And it doesn't look like plus minus 1. So we have +5 and a -1. So I'm going to make as many 0 pairs as I can. This equals 0. So I'm left with a +4. And a -10. Now there's a great resource that I have linked you can find in Schoology that lets you play with these counters, little virtual versions of these counters. So I hope that you are modeling this out with me as I solve these problems, as you are solving problems in your assignment. I know some students have also made their own counters. You can just cut out little squares and write a plus or a minus on them. So we're going to make as many 0 pairs as we can. Here's a 0 pair, and I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of them. 0 pair, 0 pair, 0 pair, 0 pair. So what we are left with is a -2. Okay, -3 plus a -5, or -3 and -5. -3 and -5. Okay, so I can't make any 0 pairs, so if I have a -3 and I have a -5, altogether I have a -8. So that was our last one with addition with plus counters. Now we're going to see what subtraction looks like. Now I do want to mention really quick that when we are adding and subtracting integers, it is a different rule than when we are multiplying and dividing. Some of you guys want to see these are 2 negatives, and you remember for multiplication and division, 2 negatives equal a positive, but that is not the case with adding and subtracting. So try to keep those rules separate in your head. Those emojis that we used, that we drew, and the triangle method, that is only for multiplication and division. Okay, now we have subtraction. 7 minus 3. Okay, so +7. Minus 3. Okay, so when you see minus, right, when you first learned subtraction in elementary school, we learned minus as take away. Okay, so it's important to read this problem correctly. 7 minus 3 is the same thing as 7 take away 3. We're taking away a +3. Okay, take away 3. It's not taking away a -3. That would look like take away a -3. Okay, that is a different problem. This is take away a +3. So when we take away +3, I'm just going to take this away. What are we left with? 4. Okay, and we know this is just regular subtraction. This is what you guys have been used to. If I have 7 things and I took away 3 of them, if I lost 3 of them, well, I have 4 left. Okay, now -6 minus 3, or -6 take away 3. So let's see, -6. Now this says to take away 3, a positive 3. Remember, this is not a -3 because that would say minus a -3. This just says -3. So how do I take away something that I don't have? I don't have any positives to take away. Well, remember, 0 pairs are worth, they have no value. They're worth nothing. They're worth 0. So you can add as many 0 pairs into your playing field as you like because it's like adding 0, which has no value. So I'm going to add a 0 pair until I have 0 pairs, until I have enough to take away a positive 3. So if I added this 0 pair, I do have 1 positive I could take away, but that's not quite enough. So I'm going to add another 0 pair. Now I have 2. That's not enough. Got another 0 pair. Now I have a positive 3 I could take away. So I'm going to take away these positive 3. And what am I left with? -6 and a -3. That is -9 total. Okay. We have a few more problems, so let's keep going. -2 minus 5. Okay, so we have a -2, take away 5. I don't have 5 to take away. I only have 2 negatives. I don't have 5 positives to take away. So I'm going to add some 0 pairs. Okay, so there's 1. I still don't have enough to take away 5. So I'm going to keep adding 0 pairs until I have enough to take away 5 positives, like our problem is asking. Okay, so again, why can I just add these 0 pairs when I'm supposed to just have -2? Because these 0 pairs are worth nothing. They're worth 0. I could really take them away if I wanted to because they are worth 0. So we can add or take away as many of those 0 pairs as we like. So we have -2, take away 5. So I'm going to take away these positive 5s, and I am left with a -7. So 5 minus a -1, or 5 take away a -1. Okay, so let me get my 5 counters up here. 5 take away a -1. Do I have a -1 to take away? I don't. So I'm going to add a 0 pair. Now I have a -1 I can take away. So when I take this guy away, my total then becomes +6. -3 minus -2. I have a +3, and I'm taking away a -2. I don't have any negatives to take away, so that's when we're going to add some 0 pairs. 0 pair, 0 pair. Well, now I have 2 negatives I can take away. So I'm going to take these away, and I am left with a +5. Okay, last problem. -4 minus a -5, or -4 take away -5. Seeing this problem can be very overwhelming because there's a lot of negatives going on, there's a lot of minuses, but it's not too bad to model. Let's take it one number at a time. -4. Okay, -4. Take away a -5. Okay, do we have 5 negatives to take away? We don't. We only have 4 negatives. So that means I'm going to add one more 0 pair. So now I have 5 negatives to take away. So when I take away those 5 negatives, I'm left with a +1. Okay, I hope that helped a little. I know the counters can be a little bit confusing. When do we add 0 pairs? When do we take them away? But it's all about, can you read this problem? If you can read the problem correctly, then you can model each part of it one step at a time. Okay, hope this helps. If you have any more problems with this assignment or just want some more practice with adding and subtracting integers, come see me during office hours. See you guys later.